This is a story that you may be following. Accused Gilgo Beach serial killer Rex Heuermann back in court this week for another hearing ahead of his trial in September. Police are charging him in June. They did charge him in June with the murder of two more women, Jessica Taylor and Sandra Castilla. Authorities now suspect that he is involved with perhaps the seventh victim, Valerie Mack. Heuermann, an architect, avowed family man, was first charged in July of 2023 with the murders of four women, their deaths stretching back decades. But as authorities connect him to even more deaths, there's the really big question is how many women did this man allegedly kill? Here with us today is trial attorney Brian Claypool. Brian, thank you so much for joining us. You're the perfect person to talk about this. I know you're well versed. So Tuesday is big because we're going to see him in court today. Is that unusual?
No, it's not unusual. Great to be with you, by the way, Elizabeth. He's got to answer to the charges, and that's why he's going to go to court. He's going to be charged with two more counts of murder. And look, as I see it, I think there are up to 11 individuals, women who are missing and likely killed. So before September, you might see this number rise from 6 because you're going to get one shot to prosecute this guy. And Elizabeth, I will tell you, when you're dealing with serial killers, if you could just link one of the victims to physical evidence, which they have here, one of the victims, they found a hair of either Heuermann or his wife on the body. That is a massive piece of evidence. Then you can join all this circumstantial evidence, a treasure trove of evidence that prosecutors have. His Chevrolet Avalanche that was seen picking up one of the girls, his burner phones that were near the location. He had a document on his computer planning on how to do these killings. He had pornographic material on his computer that mirrored two of the deaths of two women. So there's a lot of circumstantial evidence as well.
Well, it actually tees up my next question perfectly. And as you said, there's even the evidence of him Googling some of the crimes that he allegedly commit. I mean, there's just a lot. But why is it so important? Why is it so important that you get all of your ducks in a row, you get all of the evidence ironclad prior to September?
Yeah, great question. And since I do criminal defense work too, I'll tell you what I would argue if I'm representing Heuermann. You don't have any witnesses, right? And typically in murder cases, jurors like to see witnesses. You don't have a weapon. So how did these young women die? You've got to spend time developing the mechanism of death as well to convince the jury that links to Heuermann. And so you need to have this all tightened up before you go to trial because you only get one chance, Elizabeth, to convict this guy.
Well, you only get one chance, and some of these crimes allegedly were committed a long, long time ago. I want to ask you about the seventh victim, Valerie Mack. Can you tell us about some of the really the allegations that we're seeing in every one of these crimes, if you will?
Yeah, before I mention that, I forgot one other point too. Okay. Cause of death is crucial. Prosecutors cannot bring these charges against Heuermann unless they can establish a cause of death. You've got to have the body. You've got to do testing on the body. So absent that, you can't get a guilty verdict. That's another fact that Heuermann's lawyers are probably going to argue. But look, consistent with all of these horrific murders are, I believe they were undressed. I believe there's some kind of sexual violence that was involved in the deaths of these women. And again, that's important to the prosecutors because that connects to the tangible evidence you've got on the computer where he's looking up torture, for example. Right. Torture is consistent with these deaths as well. And prosecutors are doing a great job of connecting, Elizabeth, what's on that computer. What is he searching for? That gets into the brain of this lunatic. And you connect that to what happened to these lovely young women, then you've got a better chance of getting the guilty verdicts.
Okay, you mentioned that there could be more. Do you expect to see more? Or would you expect maybe the 7 if we add Valerie Mack? Or do you think that there could be up to 11?
As I see it, that there's one victim that they were not able to determine the cause of death. So I think that one gets ruled out. I'm not sure which woman it was, but that's going to be ruled out because of what I just said. You've got to have cause of death to get a conviction. But I think the 3 other victims are in play. And I think before you get to trial, you're going to see every single one of these victims, except for the one where you can't determine a cause of death, to be on the table and charges brought. So I don't think this is going to be the last time you see Heuermann in court answering to new charges for murder. I think there's going to be 10 before he gets to trial in September.
Unbelievable. All right, trial attorney Brian Claypool, thank you for joining us. Of course, we'll be following this over the week on Tuesday and then come September. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Elizabeth.